Hi everyone, Harry Frank from Maxon here. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you Texturize Motion, which adds stop motion style textures to your footage. You'll be able to locate Texturize Motion in your Stylize category of Universe Effects. Once you've applied this to a clip and you go to your Effect Controls, you'll see that you've got one of 14 different texture categories that you can choose from. Each of these categories contains 8 unique textures related to that category. And as it plays through them, it will either cycle through these by default, or you can choose a still frame option. So if I play through this and just show you a quick sampling of the different textures we've got a wide variety of canvas, watercolor, scribbles, crumpled paper, that kind of thing. You also have the ability to use a custom texture referencing another layer or track in your host app. I'll bump this up one track and put in some footage here. This is from Peter Quinn's Grit Kit. So let's say instead of using the built-in library, I'd like to use an external piece of media. So in Texturize Motion, I can go to the Custom Texture section, click on Use Custom Texture, and select the layer or video track in this case. So in this case, I want to use video track 1. Notice that I'm putting the source video over the footage I want to pull in. And this is really because the layer actually has to be turned on for the effect to work. If I put this on top, then it would be on top of my footage. So I need to have my source footage on top and then my texture layer down below. Now here in Premiere, because this selection is track-based and not clip-based, it's really just dependent on what I have here in the track. So if I were to copy and paste this over and over, or I could adjust the speed and duration, slow this way down, and drag that out over time. Below the texture opacity and the texture contrast, both of which are handy to adjust your textures, there's a texture tint. I can define the color right here, and the tint strength is right here. The texture speed is the speed in frames per second that we advance through all the different textures within any given category. You can sync your source footage to this frame rate by clicking Posterize Source Time. So you'll notice that the footage to which we've applied the effect is also playing at 5 frames per second. If I uncheck this, we'll see the original footage playing at its original frame rate. If for whatever reason you need to manually offset the frames, perhaps you set them to still and you want to manually advance these on your own, you can do so right here. And depending on the texture, sometimes it's good to invert the texture as well as play with different blend modes. Different textures definitely work well with some blend modes, and other textures don't always work well with other blend modes. You can kind of browse through a lot of these by clicking on Choose Preset. And we've set up a bunch of these textures using some pretty useful blend modes right here. Just below that blend mode section, we've got this displacement map section. If I enable this and turn up the horizontal or vertical displacement, we'll use that texture as a displacement map. Your results will get really interesting when we turn up this color separation. This will apply displacement just a little bit differently to each red, green, and blue channel, resulting in separation of the channels. And the look that you'll get is going to vary greatly depending on the texture that you've selected. Next, I'd like to show you the jitter section. Now, because this plugin overall has a very stop motion kind of feel, we decided to just kind of embrace this and run with it and add some more features that really lend to this look. Jitter allows you to apply randomness to different transformation properties of the image. For example, I could have it animate scale and rotation. And for each of these, it will change the scale and rotation just a little bit, depending on the amount that you've defined here. We can also animate the brightness by turning on this checkbox here to animate the brightness, and we'll get a little bit of brightness flicker over time. Lastly, we have a mask section, and this is masking out the texture and letting the original video show through unaffected. So if I've got an area of focus that is maybe a little bit off center, I could take the mask center and move that unaffected area over my area of focus. Beyond that, it's a pretty straightforward mask with a mask size, center, aspect, and fall off. So that is Texturize Motion from Universe 4. My name's Harry Frank from Axon. Thank you so much for watching.